Hello, everyone. I'm Johnny Christ, and this is Drinks with Johnny. Thanks for tuning in to another week. As a quick reminder, this is also available anywhere you podcast. I know you got to commute sometimes. You got other shit you got to do throughout the day, work out, get a run in, whatever it may be. You can continue this episode just by going anywhere you listen to podcasts. It's out everywhere. Just a quick reminder there. I'm really psyched for this episode, guys. I'm really hopeful that I'm going to get some insight and business side of a couple industries that I honestly haven't seen the other side of. I've been on one side of them, as many of you have. So, and I know you guys are excited for this as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring her on. My guest this week is Joanna Angel. How you doing today?
Hi, how are you? It's good to be here.
Yeah.
It's good to be here. Yeah, I'm sorry to be late. I mean, I'm drinking coffee.
That's perfect. I'm drinking coffee right now, too.
Okay.
It's 10:30 in the morning for all the listeners and viewers right now. It's a little early to be drinking on a Wednesday afternoon. Morning, so we can cheers to the coffee. We can cheers to the coffee.
Cheers to coffee. I'm on my second cup. How about you?
I just started my second cup. That is also.
We're on the same page. Good.
So let's get right into it. I'm excited to have you on and talk about your book, Club 42. That is out. It's out now. The last time I heard you talk about it was on my buddy John Beats' Brutally Speaking podcast. Easy enough for me to say. I was on that one a little bit ago, and I listened to you guys talk about the book. It's a really cool idea here. It's the second time you've done it, though, where you've done a choose-your-own erotic fantasy, right? And so this one, I've just dived into it a little bit, and I'm kind of just following Naomi so far. I haven't dived into any of the offshoots yet. I'm just following her around the strip club, and I got to say, I mean, you paint the picture of very many strip clubs I've been to. And I got to ask the question, where's the inspiration for this character, Naomi? I mean, is this any way loosely based on how I know you grew up in New York as well. This strip club is located in Times Square in New York, which I've been to a strip club right there before. And it paints the picture. I mean, it seems like, however inspired by this character was your life?
It still is fiction. You know, if I was going to write a straight up autobiography, I would write a straight up autobiography. But yes, I did used to work at a strip club in Times Square in New York. So, so I used a lot of what I knew. The character Naomi, a lot of it is me when I first got in the industry, you know, just kind of like post college, not really sure what to do with my life. And I kind of just sort of stumbled into things, and that was very much me. But then there's a lot that's fictionalized about the character too. I did dedicate this book to my sister because I feel like the main character is very much like part me, part my sister. Because my sister actually does live in Brooklyn. She's like a total, you know, hipster there. I feel like my sister is a lot of like what maybe I would have been if I never joined porn, you know what I mean? Yeah. So sometimes my sister's life gets me kind of like, this is what life would have been like if I stayed a normal person.
Well, I'm sure a lot of your fans are very glad that didn't work out that way.
Yeah. I mean, everything happens for a reason. So Naomi is very much part me, part my sister, but very much me like 20 years ago, not me now.
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah.
I think you do a good job of painting. I mean, I wouldn't know firsthand, obviously, but a girl in Manhattan her first time and like stumbling upon like the pseudo audition that was really just she ends up with the job right away. You know, I don't want to give too much away from the book and the story.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just you paint the picture. I mean, anyone who's been in a strip club knows the neon lights and the DJ and the way he changes his voice and everything. And a few of us might even know what the VIP room looks like. So did before you got into the porn industry, you were stripping before then, correct?
So it's kind of at the same time. My story is like so bizarre.
Let's get into it.
You know, which a lot of people know and a lot of people don't know, but like, you know, as most people know, I got into the industry with my own company, Burning Angel, you know, so most people, you know, like the traditional thing in the adult industry with girls who start their own production studios, usually they're porn stars. They work for everyone, and then eventually they branch off and they go out on their own. I started in on my own, you know, like cool. I wasn't part of like the world of porn, you know, I didn't even know. I was on the East Coast. I didn't know anyone in Los Angeles, whatever. I started Burning Angel when I was in college without knowing anything about the porn industry at all. I was more kind of oddly like in the music industry than the porn industry. And not really, like I wasn't in like all my friends were in bands, you know. I don't know. That was kind of the world that I knew. Okay. It was part of the scene.
Yeah.
Anyway, where was I going with this?
You say now you started out your own business first. I mean, you went head first in. You went head first in. You were kind of, and I know this from Burning Angel because I don't know if you remember, right. But I was actually interviewed by someone on the column because it was a site that also included a lot of music too. It wasn't just porn. And I remember back in the day,
which band were you in?
Avenged Sevenfold.
Well, were you in another band before that?
No, I've always just been on Avenged Sevenfold. And I did a phoner one time. I don't.
Did I interview you?
It might have been. I don't remember. It was so long ago. Like it was like probably 15, 16 years ago, maybe something like that.
Yeah, I know. It was crazy. What a different time, right? You know, but that was like a magical time in like the music scene. I think.
Oh yeah, definitely for us. I mean, I remember the reason that I was brought on is, you know, Avenged Sevenfold. We were young in our 20s, and we were embracing this whole idea that we were sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and we just didn't.
Right. No, I remember that. Yeah, and I remember, people would be like, "You got to interview Avenged Sevenfold." They were like so crazy, you know.
We were a little crazier then, but now I've got kids and all grown up and a wife and everything. But but I mean, you're in your early 20s. You're starting to feel some success in a rock band. Everyone can do the math there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys were huge, and you still are. I mean, I was like a big fan. I remember. I think I was in like a music video for you guys.
It was a photo shoot, and I wasn't sure.
Photo shoot, right?
So I remember this day, and I'm so glad we're getting into it because I didn't know how to broach it without like feeling bad that I wasn't positive it was you and the rest of and a few other girls from Burning Angel. But it was such.
I mean, it was a million years ago.
We were playing clubs. It was a club I want to say in either Jersey or Connecticut, somewhere on the East Coast like that. And what I remember the most about this day, I'm so glad we're getting into it at the top.
Okay. You know, I remember there was something weird that day, but what it was, I don't really remember. I was like a party girl back then. I don't remember a lot of details of a lot of things in that time of my life.
I think the only reason that's usually the case for me, but I remember this one because I wasn't in party mode. We all fell ill like the night before. All the guys in the band. And we had a show that night, and, you know, we don't like to do press as often as we don't have to before, at that time anyway, because we'd have to put on makeup and shit. This is back in the day when we were wearing makeup and all the craziness.
Right, yeah.
We're like, we still got hours before we got a show. So we're like, oh, man, we're feeling like shit. People are, like, just all sick. And then the girls come in, and everyone looks great, and we were just, like, not in party mode. And everyone had, like, started having drinks, and we were just like, I want to do that so bad, and I can't right now. And it was just so funny because I feel like at the time, all you girls probably walked away going like, these guys don't party. They're a bunch of fucking dicks.
Did. Yeah, I remember us leaving. Yeah, I remember us leaving feeling like I was like, something weird happened that day, and I don't remember what it was. But that's not that weird.
It's not that. Well, I just don't think you guys do the story behind. I mean, what do you recall now that I've like said my side of the story now? What do you recall from that?
It was so long.
It was like 15, 16 years ago.
I remember going down there, and then I remember being like, those guys are weird. Or like, you know what? I think I was like, they are like, especially being from the East Coast, we were very into using the word poser. I was like, oh, those guys are full of shit. They're supposed to be a party band. They were boring.
Yeah, we were very boring that day. And,
but being like boring, that's not like the worst thing to walk away from. Like nothing like terrible.
Good. You never know. And I was like, we were, as I said, we were all just, it was just like the wrong day. It was like, we were just all very ill. I think the Rev or Shadows, like after the show, had to get oxygen. Which, you know, in this day and age, it's like if we were that sick, we shouldn't have been doing the photo shoot next to other people. Hindsight, you know, being 2020, which is kind of funny how it worked out that way. But yeah, it's just kind of silly that we, as ill and sick as we were, the show must go on. And we're just like,
the show. Yeah. No, but that was like a very different time.
I'm so glad you remembered that, though, because I wasn't sure.
That's funny.
If I was remember. Like, I knew that it was with some of the girls of Burning Angel, and I wasn't sure if you were a part of it or not. And I was there, so early on.
Yeah, how funny. Yeah, because I was friends with like a guy who was like a photographer that was working with you guys, so he kind of put it all together. Wow, crazy times.
Oh, look at us reconnecting.
Look at us. Yeah.
Talking about your book, now being an author. So like I've been to plenty of strip clubs and seen one side of it. You've worked at them and seen the other side of it.
I've worked at them. Yeah. I've been all over the place. Yeah.
What can you tell me that I guess the question is like how accurate is the behind the scenes look from this book into what you've experienced? Like how accurate? I mean, were you really trying to pull from some experience that you've seen rather than ones that you felt, or you know, different clubs have a different atmosphere? I'm sure.
So what I did try to really capture is like what it's like to be like a new stripper, what it's like to kind of, you know, being a new stripper, it's a bizarre thing, or any of the sex industry, because for the most part, you are new, coming from a different world, and you're walking into a world where everyone else there is not new. So, you know, you're walking into a room with this, you know, idea in your head, like everything is so, complicated and strange and new to you, but everybody else around you is just in their routine, kind of like another day at work, you know. So I did try to really capture that feeling. I do think there's just so many like, I tried to really show what it feels like to have a good day at work, what it feels like to have a bad day at work. So those thoughts and feelings I tried to really explain from my point of view, and then also just kind of show the cast of characters at a strip club. Like, it's not that much different than the cast of characters when you work at like a restaurant or something. Like, you've got all these people like interacting, and
they all have their role.
And, and I also tried to show the relationship between the stripper and the customer, because it's not what everyone thinks. Like, it's not exactly like, like, it's a special relationship. Like, it's not just like the girls walk in and they're like, I feel like a lot of people think the girls walk in, they look at everyone and they're like, these guys are disgusting, I just want their money. Like, it's not that, but obviously also it's not that like the girls are in love with everyone. I don't know. It's like a symbiotic relationship where both people need each other, and so I tried to kind of explain that. But obviously there's a lot of, kind of, fictionalized things, fictionalized people. There's people in there I'd met over the years where I don't know, invented stories about them that,
don't use their names too closely. So they but
also I didn't use anybody's names, but people were just vaguely based off other people. No one was exactly another person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Like I said, if I was gonna, write like a straight up autobiography, I would just write a straight up autobiography. So,
and that's interesting that you went that route. I mean, as you said, your career in the porn industry has been a little unorthodox. How you started one way that is very off the beaten path, and then now most actresses end up going into the biography movie or books, and they some of the big ones have been #1 seller biography books.
Right.
Decided to go to a fictitious place with it. Was that just to be different, or is that what inspired you? Had you always wanted to be a writer? I mean, you came out of college.
That is something that not a ton of people know. Maybe it's not the most exciting fact about me, but I always wanted to be a writer. I took writing classes in high school, in college. I would go to like writing workshops, for fun. I would go to like coffee houses and do open mic type things when I was like in college and stuff like that. Like writing's always sort of been my form of expression. Sometimes I hated it. Like when I was younger, you know, since all my friends were musicians, like I was like, maybe I'm a musician. And I tried when I was in high school.
What did you try there? Were you just
I tried taking like guitar lessons and like, I don't know, I guess I figured out a few Nirvana songs or whatever, you know. Nice. I like really like in my brain I was like, I want to be like a badass, like, you know, female musician, and like it wasn't my art form. It didn't come naturally to me. I had to try so hard just to do some basic things. It wasn't like when I was having a bad day, I wanted to pick up the guitar and shred. When I was having a bad day, I'd want to write about it. You know, that was my form of expression, you know. Sorry, that's my phone going off.
It's okay.
So that's always kind of been my thing. Yeah. And, you know, and even in the porn industry, like people don't understand how much work it is. Like I've been writing scripts for, you know, damn near 20 years for a lot of my movies. And yes, some of the scripts for my porn is like 2 sentences and then a guy walks in and whatever. But like I've written like 40, 50 page, like feature length scripts for like movies, wow. You know, and a lot of people don't really understand that. And that's actually was very good for me, like good practice for writing a novel, because having like, just like, you know, being able to write on a deadline, being able to write with like boundaries and constraints and kind of like, here's what we need to happen in this like fixed amount of time. And like, you know, so that was very good practice for me of doing that very regularly for the past damn near, you know, 20 years. And also over the years, I've done like a lot of random, like guest, like sex advice columns, you know, I've done like little articles here and there for different magazines about like different aspects of the porn industry and this and that. But, I mean, I guess fiction, I always did think, like the others, that the first book I ever wrote would be a biography. But this offer came to me, and it was actually very exciting.
How many books initially was it for? Did you have a 2-book or 3-book deal, or was it starting with one?
It was one.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just one with the option of a next one. So now I've done 2. It's crazy to think that I've done 2.
2 in like just a couple of years' time too, because the last one released in 2018, right?
Yeah. I can't believe it. I look at the book, right? And I'm like,
was just called Night Shift.
Yeah, the first one was
I haven't gone
Night
into
Shift.
that one yet, but now that I've gone into Clum 42, you know, I got to go back to it.
That really means a lot to me, you know, and this has been very exciting for this, you know, this kind of press that I've been doing for the book tour. Like, erotica is usually meant for like women and like housewives, and like I never wanted to write erotica for the typical erotica crowd. I mean, same with like, you know, doing Burning Angel. I never wanted to make porn for all the same typical porn fans, you know, like I wanted to do something different. It's actually been really cool to see all the dudes that have liked this book.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that is like,
you paint the
different
picture. I mean, you're painting the picture. So as I'm reading, I could visualize it, you know. I've never read erotica before. You know, I'm more, when it comes to that, I guess I'm more of a visual guy, as they say. But
right,
yeah.
Yeah. No, most men don't. And I mean, it's a very specific thing, people who read erotica.
Yeah, I know,
you know.
but I mean, I'm reading along, and I'm into it right now. It's well written. It's well, as I keep saying, I'm sure I'll listen back to this and go, why do I keep saying that? But it paints a really good picture. I can really visualize it.
There is one, and I think you'll probably find it funny, or I hope you do. There was a
couple.
Of the book,
there's already a couple like lines that were funny. I was like, that's
yeah. But there's a whole part of the book. If you go to like, She Starts Tomorrow, where she goes home and she's dating like a band guy, and I think you will, you know, that is very much based off of someone. He'll know who he is whenever he reads the book, if he ever reads it. Awesome. But, which he probably won't. No, he never, but, yeah, who knows? But, that one was a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, I'm sure. Cause I mean, obviously it came from some serious experience there, and how a band guy might act around it.
Yeah,
I can imagine. Yeah. I can imagine already without reading it.
Yeah. He's not very responsible, and you know, yeah, but he's very handsome and he's very good in bed, you know, but he's not a great boyfriend, I guess. I guess I could just sum it up. But he's a lot of fun, and but it was a really fun character to do, kind of my own little homage to all you men.
All you men in rock bands. I like the general how Naomi's kind of a rock snob too, and she's like, well, there's so many different genres of rock, and I'm like, that's true. But at my old age, I just sum it up as rock now too. It's like it covers it all. But I digress there a little bit because I want to get back to the writing that you've been doing over the years with pornography over the last 20 years, as you said. And you said it could be from 2 lines to 45 pages, depending on the project, right? But I'm curious as to, in a normal script, you would have a lot of stage cues, or as they say, or movement cues and stuff. Is there a lot of that going on in the script? Are you writing out like he does this to her or she does this to him kind of thing, or is? I
mean, most of the time in my scripts and in most porn scripts, it's like, and then sex happens, and the sex is kind of like its own.
That's the ad lib. That's the ad lib for the actors.
Yeah. But other people do it differently. If there's like a specific thing I need in the sex, I'll write it in there. Like if it's part of the story that, I don't know, whatever, like if it has to start off with, and then she puts her hand on whatever, like I'll write out certain things. Some companies will have like pictures of like, we need this specific key shot. We need this, like the thing now of all the companies are doing.
Like a poster board, like a kind of a poster board before they even get into it.
Storyboard.
Yeah, storyboard. Yes,
I mean,
that's right.
If there's something specific you need, like these days, what's the popular thing in porn? Like people getting stuck in the washing machine or whatever. If you need, if you need a specific thing like that.
I was just gonna refer to you, Joanna. I mean, you would know more about what's popular versus me, because again, the searches these days make it very specific, and the algorithms, like, it kind of already knows what you want.
Yeah, it's very. Why? What is your algorithm telling you?
I'm not divulging that on my own show. No way.
What's on your homepage?
Some really random shit. I'm kind of into everything, I guess.
But most of the time when I'm writing a story, it's just like, and then sex happens, and like and that's something like as I'm directing or whoever the director is on set. Well, if there's things you need during the sex, you could kind of just call it out during the sex, unless there's like specific things you need to move the story around. So my scripts are very much just like scripts,
like storyline.
This is what these are the words. Lines. These are the words you need to say.
How and going further into that, because this is stuff that I really wanted to talk to you about. Like of course the book, but what comes in behind the book, what comes in behind the video, what comes in behind all this stuff. How easy or difficult can it be working with these different actors and actresses that maybe don't have the kind of experience of acting when they're reading a line as you might hope?
Right. No, I mean, there's definitely, in the adult industry, there's people who really enjoy acting. Mm-hmm. There's actually, you'd find a lot of like drama kids almost in porn that kind of just wound up here, men and women.
Famously, a few years ago, I remember Sasha Grey was actually like full on in these independent, like very serious dramatic roles as well, while she was still doing porn, right?
Yeah. She did both, and then she gracefully graduated, I guess.
Yes. However, I saw her in a news article a few years ago, like a newspaper when we were in LA. I don't mean to go off on a tangent here, but I guess that's kind of what you do on a podcast, right? I just saw, I just kind of read it, and she just had her own column in there in her own interview where she was, kind of moved on and was like kind of in the hipster artist, kind of in the artist mode of her life.
Yeah. But so there's a lot of people in porn that love acting, and then there's some who hate it. I usually myself as a director, if I like, the good thing is I direct so many kinds of things. So like, it's a good way for me to kind of try someone out on the 2-sentence pornos that I make.
Oh yeah. Then you could see if they're ready for the others.
Yeah. So if I'm going to do like a big scripted feature, I will make sure that it's someone I've worked with before, and I kind of get a good gauge of like, are they somebody who enjoys acting or somebody who doesn't? But I've had everything that could possibly happen over the years. I mean, there's been times where I've been on set forever and somebody could not get their lines. That's a director's job. You got to just figure out what to do, you know, like, I mean, it is porn. You can't be like a Hollywood director, you know.
Again, going back to the sex versus the script part, are you telling me that that they're ad-libbing during the sex when they're saying stuff too, or is that the same way? Like if you need something specifically said, is that written out in the script?
For the most part, it's ad-libbing during the sex.
And that would just go by like
just do
improv.
What they do.
Yeah, and that would go. And some are better at improv than others.
I mean, you
right?
you are having sex.
Yeah,
you know,
of course,
like whichever way you usually have sex. Like, I mean, every performer kind of has their thing. Some people are louder, some people are more quiet, some people talk a lot. But like, you know, every company. Look, I mean, I'll say if it happens to be a really romantic scene, you kind of just say that in the beginning and just. You know what I mean? You'll be like, hey, guys, we need the scene to be more passionate, more romance, more this. Or sometimes it's like, this is a rough scene, so we want this and we want this. I try to go over those things in the beginning because then once people start fucking, I want them to just have fun and fuck. You know, and I know from being a performer, you don't want to be like over-directed during the sex. So
yeah. And so, I mean, I know it's an age-old question, and but like the reality, like, how often is a performer, a female performer more specifically, enjoying herself? You know, is it always? Is it kind of 50-50 as you would guess in real life?
I mean, first of all, I'm not inside of everyone's brain.
Of course,
you know?
Of course.
It's part of my job as a director to, you know, well, first of all, set an environment where everybody will be enjoying themselves. But also, like, if a girl looks or is acting like she's not enjoying herself, we have to stop the scene and figure out what will make her enjoy herself. Yeah. I can't like have that kind of product, you know what I mean? Course. So it's kind of part of the female performer and male performer's job to enjoy themselves. So I mean, but yes, I know what you're trying to say. Are you? That's a question. Are you faking it? It's
I didn't want to ask that, but no, I don't mean that. Because I don't mean that you're faking it. I mean, like, how much? Where's the enjoyment level? And like, you know, sometimes in sex, just when the cameras aren't around, sometimes are better than others, right?
Right. I mean, I really do. I mean, most girls in porn are very horny. And it's not, I mean, you know, I don't know. I'd like to think everyone's enjoying themselves, but like, you know, I've definitely directed scenes in my time where like at a certain point, I'm like, these two people hate each other. What are we going to do? It's not, you know, but, and there's been very few and far between of those, but you know, when that is the thing, I'm like, all right, let's just make this a less intimate scene and figure out what to do. We'll get a lot of POV positions. We'll try to do this, like almost like, what can I do to like get what we, you know, because not every sex scene needs to be some like super passionate, you know, thing. So I'll try to get what I can, where we still have something hot, but it's not, all about the connection between the two of them.
Yes.
But you know, but for the most part, I think it's kind of part of my job, and what I'm pretty good at is casting. I'm very particular with the men that I hire. I would never put a guy in one of my movies that I wouldn't have sex with myself, you know? So I know what guys to put in the scenes that I know will make the girls horny.
That would help.
So that always helps.
Also, maybe someone who's, you know, not going to be disrespectful on the scene or anything like that.
Right. No, I would never, ever, you know, I'm very like strict about, you know, the men that I hire. And, you know, I try to just set a good, fun environment. And, you know, there's a lot of girls in porn now. Like all the directors, like we talk to each other. If I get word that like a certain girl was just like really not into it, or she was, you know, just very like unpleasant, or just, you know, seems to be there for the wrong reasons, like I won't hire them. And I feel like that's pretty easy to tell these days, you know, especially with like social media and like stuff like that. You know, this is a pretty like everybody's fucking each other. Everybody's hiring the same kind of group of people. So stuff like that gets around
pretty quickly.
But I've been, fortunate. I mean, I think part of it's my intuition, and maybe just part because I'm just such a great director. For the most part, I think everybody seems to be having a pretty good time on my sets. Are they faking it? Are they not? I don't know. To me, it looks real. To the viewer, it looks real.
Exactly. Then what does it matter, right?
Because I can't say I've never, ever faked an orgasm in a scene ever, but that doesn't necessarily mean I wasn't having fun. Sometimes,
no, of course.
Sometimes it's just, you're like on a rock and it's cold outside or something, and like,
I don't know that I'm trying to think if I've ever been in that position. I don't know, but, yeah.
I mean, I've literally and figuratively been in every
position.
Position. Yeah. But I have, but there's been a few times, and I've learned from those where I'm like, oh, these people are not having fun.
Yeah.
What do we do here?
Yeah. and I'm sure those few and far between. I'm sure those few and far in between times that it happens. Each time you learn a little bit more of how I can get around it, right?
Yes, exactly. And how to deal with that situation, and how to make the best of it, and how to, make the people happy, and, and figure it out. I mean, that's part of my job.
Yeah. You seem to be doing a good job. I mean, I know that you recently, semi-recently, just a couple of years ago, sold Burning Angel after close to 20 years. What was the main decision for deciding to sell? Was it just the right price, the right time? What was it?
It was a mixture of everything. I mean, that was a really hard decision. But I mean, we got, I got a very good offer that would have been foolish to turn down. But part of the offer as well was I was able to have a job working for Burning Angel. So I still direct and produce and work for Burning Angel. It's like a couple days a month. So it's kind of funny that it went from being my whole life to almost like a part-time job, you know? But that was very important to me in the buyout, to still be able to continue and have creative control and input, and still be able to do Burning Angel. So I still continue to do it, and it's great for me because I can be creative and do the things I want to do without having to deal with all the stress of owning it.
Running it
was a great deal. Yeah. I mean, it was the right time, dude. I did it I did that company it started in 2002, I sold it in 2018, and it was a tough decision too. It felt like I was selling a child, It's a weird thing. I felt strange, like right after I did it. It took me a while, like for a good year. It still was hard for me it's almost like I had to figure out, like, well, who am I? Like Burning Angel and owning it was kind of like my whole life, my whole like identity. Like it's almost like I had to take a step back and be like, who am I?
Well, I mean, you're definitely an entrepreneur and a director and a writer. I mean, just from this conversation, I think the listeners can hear that. I have another question, though, that, I mean, I'm sure you've answered a bunch of times, and it seems like it'd be kind of an obvious answer, but you're still working currently, and you've been married since 2016 to Aaron Thomas, a.k.a. Small Hands.
Yes.
I'll ask about that name later. But the first thing I want to ask about that is, like, you're actively working still. Are you still working with other actors, actresses, and filming? And is he involved in that? And, like, how do you guys work that out in your marriage?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a whole other story. But, when I first met Aaron, he was not in the industry. I think some people don't even know that anymore. So the first few years that we dated, he was not in porn and I was in porn. And that, that was, I held my ground. I mean, I remember telling him from our very first date, I was like, do not ever make me choose between my job and this relationship because I'm not going to choose you. Like I said that from day one, especially that was really in the thick of it. I'm like, this is not even just a job for me. This is a company. There are other people whose like lives depend on working for me. Like, do not ever, ever like put me in that position. And then also, I also learned, I mean, I could go on about this forever. You know, also before him, I was dating, you know, I had obviously being in porn for 20 years, I went through a bunch of different relationships. There was, before him, I was dating another guy. And that was kind of the first time where and of course a band guy. And it was a guy who was very like, well, since you're in porn, I should be able to just like fuck whoever I want. And I was like, okay, well, I guess that sounds fair, because before that guy, I was with another guy in porn. So we had our own whatever.
Yeah.
It just kind of made sense. And that was kind of the first time where I was like in a relationship after being in porn for like 10 years and I was dating someone. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I don't want to quit my job. So if that's what I need to do to like, be in a relationship with someone not in porn, okay, sure. You can like bone other girls when you're on tour and whatever. And like the first time it actually happened, I was like, oh, I am like, not okay with this.
Yeah, you thought you'd give it a try though. I mean, you were open-minded enough to give it a try, and it just wasn't for you.
Yeah, it was humiliating because first of all, there's no such thing as a one-night stand anymore. You know what I mean? Like I feel like back in the day, you know, I used to, when I was younger, I would go to bars in New York. I would fuck people. I didn't know their names. I never saw them again. I don't know. I guess I did that all the time. That was a different time when I was like,
well, everyone's been in their early 20s. You know, that's exactly the difference too. I don't know that that's gone away just because of the time. I don't know these times, but like,
now people will find each other on social media. You know what I mean? And stay in touch and this and that. So I just remember like, a day after that happened, I started seeing a girl on social media going on and on about the fun night they had the night before, and I was like, "This is very disrespectful."
Yeah, because it's on Front Street that way too, right?
Right, and I'm like, and then I was like, "What I do at work is not the same as this. It's not comparable. Like me going to work and doing my thing, even though I'm enjoying myself, I'm enjoying my job, and I'm enjoying the sex, is not the same as you going out and meeting someone at a bar." And having sex with them, like
having a different emotional connection. It's a different emotional connection. Right?
Even if it's someone you only fuck once, it's the attraction that brought you together. It wasn't a day of work that two people were assigned. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see the difference.
So that was kind of the first time I experienced that. So then when I met my now husband, I was like, okay, you like me, we're dating, cool. I'm not going to quit doing porn, and you can only fuck me. And I'm going to keep doing my job. Cool. And that, you know, that was a lot. But I was like, that's just how it has to be. I'm like, but what comes along with it is we'll probably have some fun threesomes and like orgies and stuff like that. That's cool. But we're not in an open relationship just because I go to work. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So that was a lot for him to handle, and he was a wonderful gentleman about it. We always had open conversations about it, and very we were always honest. But also I met my husband, I was 31 when I met him, so I was very able to be like, this is what I'm okay with, this is what I'm not okay with, and he was able to do the same thing. Fast forward to a few years later, I got him into porn.
He came around. Well, I'm sure it wasn't that hard to twist his arm after a few of those threesomes and orgies you were just describing.
You know, oddly, he really didn't want to do it at all. It's kind of funny. I'm straight up that person that sex trafficked him. You know, it's I think if this story was reversed,
you'd be in a lot of trouble.
I would be in a lot of trouble. If I was a man, I'd be in a lot of trouble. And then he wound up becoming like the most successful guy in porn. Oddly, he was in a band in his earlier days.
Yeah, I heard he's still planning on releasing some music.
Well, now he's
something Streets. I read Empty Streets.
Empty Streets. So everybody go check. Now he's kind of relaunched his music career now that he's conquered the porn industry. He wound up becoming very, very good and successful at it. So it's kind of funny what started our relationship as like me being in porn and him not being in porn. At a certain point when his career was rising, I started to feel like he was in porn and I wasn't in porn because he was so
Do you direct
busy.
him? Do you direct him a lot then?
Oh yeah. I've directed him a million times all the time. I mean, I work with other guys, he works with other girls. We're not, you know, but it's I don't know, it's normal to me.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you've been doing it for a long time. You're passionate about it. It's a job and an enjoyable job at one, you know, I mean, I enjoy my job too, you know.
Exactly.
I can understand that.
exactly. When whatever's at work, it's work. He enjoys himself at work. I enjoy myself at work. He's always happy for me. When I have a good day, I've directed him with other girls. I mean, if anything, sometimes the other girls get a little shy because they don't want to like piss me off. I'm like, hey, for the next few hours, he's not my husband. He's yours. Do whatever you want.
That's interesting. Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense when you break it down like that. Makes a lot of sense.
I mean, I don't really know what to compare to, but and
I don't think you really can compare it to other things. I think that's what makes it unique, and not in a bad way at all. I mean, the porn industry gets a lot of bad rap here and there, but it also.
I'm sure, as a musician, you have a different kind of persona when you're on stage.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And it doesn't mean that persona is fake, and it's not you. It's just it's a certain part of you.
I've got about 10 different personas. I'm on a podcast now and everything.
Right.
I do it. I'm not just one dimensional, and I don't think anyone else really is. I think they get forced into a one dimensional state of thinking.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Speaking of your husband, though, you guys got married in 2016 in Vegas. I heard you were married by the Grim Reaper and came out to Slayer down the aisle.
Yes, yeah, we did.
So it was on Halloween too, right?
It was. We got married on Halloween of 2016. Yeah, and it was in Vegas at the Viva Las Vegas wedding chapel.
Nice.
And they do all kinds. They do Elvis weddings. They do all the theme weddings, but they had a special Halloween Grim Reaper wedding. And yeah, I had like blood and stuff on my face, and he had like devil horns, and it was really fun. It was a super goth wedding.
Yeah. So obviously Halloween and horror is kind of dear to both of your hearts, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Really just like punk and metal and music and stuff was, something we always bonded over even on our first date. I mean, that's always been like an important thing to me. I mean, from growing up in the scene, it's like you just feel this connection with other people in the scene that you just don't feel, and it stays forever. And I don't know if it's like that with younger kids in the music scene these days. I don't know what it's like, but
you're asking the wrong person.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, for us, I mean, we've developed, over the years, our kind of our own scene in a lot of ways too. Like all of our fans are super diehard.
You guys kind of did your own thing.
Yeah, much like you went out and did your own thing too. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Some of the questions though, back to the horror and Halloween stuff. Like, what makes you gravitate? Is it you already said kind of the music culture that comes around it as well, as we all know. But like, what's your favorite horror franchise or movie? Or one of them. I know it's hard to pin down one.
I'm not sure if you know, I've made a million in I've made a lot of horror pornos, which kind of became like a thing.
Yeah, that didn't show up on my algorithm. Back to that one, but yeah.
I've won awards for a lot of spooky.
I'm definitely gonna check
pornos.
I'll definitely go check those out because I absolutely love horror. I've got tattoos. I've got Freddy on a tap back there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it on the webcam. I got a tap with Freddy on it.
What's my favorite? I mean, I think my favorite horror franchise is probably the Halloween series. Mm-hmm. That was always my favorite one. Evil Dead, Halloween, even Scream. I love Scream. The slasher. Yeah, I love I love the slasher. And I like a lot of campy horror movies. Like all the Shaun of the Deads and
that's what I love about horror is it can be extremely scary and extremely real and extremely cheesy and extremely awesome in the same way.
Yeah,
It has a spectrum. It's a very big spectrum when you say horror.
Cheesy horror. There's but if you're gonna do serious horror, then it has to be really good.
Yeah, really good, the thinking kind of horror and stuff like that.
Then you have to be legitimately scared.
Yeah,
and then if you fail to do that.
Yeah.
What?
There's
an art to it. Yeah. No, I know. I mean, that's a tough thing to do. What are your favorites?
I think the Nightmare on Elm Street is probably my favorite franchise. I just love Robert Englund as the role of Freddy. I didn't even get through any of the new ones, but when Robert Englund is Freddy, it's just so. As a young kid, I was actually terrified of it because I think I saw the first one when I was 4.
Oh, it was terrifying growing up. Freddy and It.
Yeah.
growing up was like the scary, like no wonder why we're all like messed up. Like those movies they were so scary.
Yeah, they were.
Up.
I
like,
would have nightmares and stuff, and I would see it a little too
yeah.
soon though. Like I had two older brothers that would have sleepovers and stuff, and they'd all be watching a horror movie, and I'd sneak out of the bedroom at the top of the stairs and watch it.
You'd be like that.
Yeah,
like
totally.
you wanted to watch it, you didn't want to watch it. Yeah, like remember when we were all younger and we all watched Poltergeist, and then you'd freak out when the black and white was on the TV.
Yeah.
You know,
or like you walk around and you walk around, the TV's was left on by somebody, and now it's doing that, but no one else is in the room. You're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, all the Stephen King movies growing up, they were so scary. I love The Shining. That's another one of my
amazing. Yeah,
my favorite.
I got Jack
you have
right there.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. What was the newer one that came out a few years ago and it was really bad? It was like based off The Shining, but not The Shining.
Yeah, it.
What was it called? Like
good.
Dreams.
On paper, it looked good. It had Ewan McGregor in it too, right?
Yeah. What was it called?
I can't remember.
I remember getting in.
Someone comment right in here or leave a review. Remind us who it is.
Called.
It wasn't.
It was
the premise wasn't bad. The premise wasn't bad. I felt it was. By the end of it, I was like, "Ooh, they missed a couple executions." But I think it could have been really good, actually.
I remember thinking it was bad. What was it? Sleep something? Right?
It was sleep or dream something, yeah.
Right? Yeah, like something was sleeping or dreaming or
I don't know.
whatever.
I've seen so many damn horror movies, and actually now that I have a 4-year-old kid, I haven't seen a good horror movie in a long time because I'm just
How do you feel about, because this is one everyone seems to be torn about Midsommar.
I haven't seen it.
Really?
I was just saying, I have a 4-year-old son. I rarely get TV to myself anymore, and when I do, it's also with my wife. So I'm like, when she loves horror movies as well, but she likes the more thriller horror movies. I don't even know which one this is. I'm so out of touch since I've had a kid. I watch a bunch of cartoon movies.
Yeah.
I got to be real about it. I mean, I don't mind it. Some of them are really good, but
yeah,
it's part of being a parent. And I'll have to wait to get back in this. And again, another big factor has been a lot of times I'll get caught up on those movies when I'm out on the road touring and stuff. And I'm away from the kid for a little bit. Which I haven't been able to do in a year. And we got off the road in 2018, so I haven't been. This is the longest I've been home since I started in the band.
You know what's funny is just recently, I directed last month. I directed a new porno horror-ish movie called Succubus.
Okay.
About strippers that steal people's souls and stuff. And I was giving the editor notes, and you know what? It was kind of funny. It was almost like fate that I gave them a link to one of your old videos.
Oh, which one? What's the
name of the song?
Oh, Beast in the Harlot. Where we filmed it in a strip club. Yeah.
Yeah. And it is basically a music video about strippers that steal people's souls. Funny. And I actually told my editor to copy some of the effects from that video because I liked when the girls turned all black and stuff. And I was like, oh, when the girls are possessed, can you have this effect on them? It was just random that I did that a couple weeks ago. And I was like,
do you know when that one's coming out?
Probably in a month or something. I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, keep me posted. I want to check that out.
Yeah, so I'm going to copy you guys.
That's okay. So it's the best form of flattery, or whatever the saying is.
So, I was like, I want these same effects on the girls. And the guy was like, oh, okay, cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Those were back in those times when we connected for the first time, obviously. Yeah. So it was fun to reminisce on that. Back to the music though. Anyway, as we stated before, Burning Angel was very tied into the rock scene, the music scene of whatever, And I was just curious, and you walked down to Slayer, so I could kind of gauge, and I think everyone could kind of gauge what kind of bands are your favorites, or artists in general. So maybe a couple of those, and maybe a couple ones that no one would ever guess that you get down to.
Huh. Wow. Okay. Man, and I love I love. It started off a lot of people that get into music in different ways. Punk was kind of what started me off, the whole punk scene. Getting into Rancid.
Oh, I love it.
Rancid, the Bouncing Souls, early days, Lifetime, you know, Saves the Day, like all bands like that, were like, you know, even like when I was really younger, like Less Than Jake, all those like bands.
Yeah, the Warped Tour bands. I mean, Rancid was Warped Tour royalty, but you know, a lot of the other ones you named are kind of just like the cool, awesome Warped Tour bands. Yeah,
I loved NoFX and all those bands growing up. You know, and then later on, that's like when I got a little older, I started getting more into metal. You know, like Pantera and like, you know, Killswitch Engage and Lamb of God and like, you know, Poison the Well and.
Poison the Well. I haven't heard that name in a minute. Actually, we did a tour with them back on the Wake in the Fallen.
I feel like
days.
there was like a few years where they were on like every tour.
Yeah. No, they were awesome dudes too. I was very young in the band at the time, and getting to hang out with those guys, and like they had already been doing it for a few years at that time, and it was really cool.
I loved like Dillinger Escape Plan and like I don't know that, you know, even like Cave In and all those like well, I don't even know what you call that like era of metal.
Yeah, it was kind of like, there was a name for it. I don't remember what it was. It was like
like metalcore.
It wasn't metalcore. It was more like noisecore or something like that. Or there was a name for it. It'll come to me later. But
it was there was a name for it. But you know, I now like these days. I mean, I listen to punk. I listen to metal. I do listen to like even like a lot of like black metal and like death metal and stuff like that. You know, I love Children of Bodom. Oh yeah. You know, Alexi, who just recently passed away.
Yeah.
I love that band, Ghost.
Ghost is great. Ghost is great.
They're so much fun. I know. That was like seeing them live is like so much fun.
Oh, it's such a spectacle. We took them out on the tour like 2016, I want to say. It was so much fun, and then like you get to hang out with them afterward and homeboy just
wait, you hung out with them without their masks?
Yeah.
Like,
Tobias is like a really good looking like Swedish dude. He's like the nicest guy. It was really fun actually to get to know him.
Yeah, I know who one is, and I can't say.
Okay. Does that go back to the inspiration in the book?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you also mentioned in just a second when you were just mentioning just a second ago rather, you mentioned some of your influences
like early
favorite bands.
You know.
You mentioned NoFX, and I know Fat Mike pretty well now. You guys did a podcast. Yeah, I know, because you guys did a podcast together, and then I was asking him about it. I know you guys had started it, or it was going on, and he was just like, yeah, man, and then I just found out it was like a lot of work. Can you talk to me about your relationship with Fat Mike and that podcast and everything like that?
Yeah. You know, wait. Me and Mike never had a pod. I mean, I was on an episode of his podcast that probably had a total of 3 episodes.
That's exactly what I mean. Yeah, that's what he was talking. That's what I was talking about. Like because I asked him, are you ever going to start that back up? And he's like, I don't know, man. It's just a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. People have asked me all the time, they're like, you should start a podcast. And I've said the same thing. I'm like, that's a lot of work. I'm like, I'd only do one if like somebody would want to do all the work for me. Like if I could just show up somewhere and do it and somebody else could like take care of all the.
Well, you've already got so much other stuff going on, but I feel like you'd be really good at it with your writing background and running Burning Angel and everything.
Yeah.
Like that.
I think also after Burning Angel, I don't want to like start another like thing myself. I want to be part of other people's things.
Yeah, you've already done it. You've been there, done that. You did your own thing.
Yeah. So if somebody wanted me to be their co-host, I'd be so down. That would be a lot of fun for me. But like the like starting something from scratch and setting up an area of like my house that's like a recording studio and like
you mean something like this and all this crazy shit that I'm doing?
Yeah.
What am I thinking?
Yeah. If there's anything, exactly. It's a lot of work. And if there's anything from running my own business for so many years, I really enjoy showing up somewhere, doing a job, taking a check, and going home. Like I did the American.
I can see that. I can see that. I can see the appeal there.
Yeah, I like being part of other people's working things.
Yeah.
Where I can just come in, be myself, do my thing, and leave, and not have to like think about it 24/7. Because that's what happens when you have your own project.
Of course,
that's what it is.
Yeah.
There's no one to turn to and be like, "Hey, I need this thing." You know, like you're the one that has to kind of do everything.
Yeah. Well, I've got a small team though. I've got a small team of really good friends that are helping me out. But you know, like, yeah, when it comes to who's on the camera and who's doing the talking, buck stops here.
Exactly. Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah. So how was that podcast? I tried to get it out of Mike a little bit because I don't even know. I couldn't even find it after I talked to him about it.
Yeah, did it ever even go anywhere?
I don't know, but I remember hearing about, like, he was talking about it before, and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna like teach people and educate people on sex, basically, and different forms of it, and different things, and bring it to light of couples."
Was that supposed to be the point of the podcast?
Don't quote me on that. That's just what I was talking to Mike about. I don't know, man. He said it was something along those lines where, he just wanted to kind of educate and take the stigma out of sex workers and different fetishes and stuff, and he wanted to kind of take the stigma out. I mean, he's very famously tuned into that, and I just wanted to have that conversation.
He's very, very into the lifestyle. Like, I've definitely been at Mike's house many times where he's like, suddenly we're all just hanging out, and like then suddenly he goes to his room and he's in a latex dress, and I'm like, all right, so it's that time now. Okay.
Yeah. Six Flogs as he dubbed it.
Yeah, I know. No, he's very much in the life. So I mean, the one episode I did on his podcast, he's been very good friends with this other porn director who's, a friend of mine too. And it was me and him both on, but we've had very different, we kind of just wound up us like telling like funny stories, you know. I don't really know how educational it was.
Well, that can be uplifting when you hear other people share a likeness in something that you like as well, and you feel kind of insecure about liking that one thing, and then you hear a story of someone else doing that thing that you like. It's kind of, I could see how that could be helpful in a way. Maybe that's how we meant it.
Just kind of normalizing it when we're talking about,
exactly.
Our times in the adult industry. So it was more just like, it felt like I was, just like hanging out with two buddies telling funny stories.
Yeah. And that's a lot of what podcasting can be. That's what I've found. Do you have any other podcasts that you listen to or into? Like, is there like a genre even? Because I know that they have, like, my wife is really into the murder mystery ones.
I was gonna say, like, are we all obsessed with that? My favorite murder podcast, God, those girls, they're geniuses. Like,
yeah,
they really lived the life. They really figured it out.
Scary. It's scary. My wife always turns to me and is like, when we're listening or watching to something like that, like if I got away with it kind of stuff, and she's always like, man, they did it all wrong. I would have totally been able to kill you. And I'm like, that's
like, good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, I'll keep that in mind. Yeah, I guess if I don't listen to a ton of podcasts, but I do listen to My Favorite Murder a lot of times when I'm on like long drives.
That's how I discovered podcasts, actually. It wasn't through me doing them. It was just like, well, I guess it was kind of both. I guess it was kind of both, because I was starting this as a web series just on our YouTube channel for Avenged Sevenfold, and then now it's on its own thing. But before that, I was like, having buddies over. We'd sit and hang for like 2.5 hours and have some drinks. But I'd ask my guy, it's a YouTube video. You can't be more than 20 minutes. He's editing all this stuff out to get it down there. And then I was like, and he's like, there's these things called podcasts. And I was like, okay. So I could release all of it there. And then we decided just to, put it all out, full length, everything. And then, we give out extras later on from our chats with our friends that come on the show, like yourself. Well, I want to thank you for your time and be on here. I have one last thing I want to ask about. That's, the Oculus 2 is really big right now, and you're doing these fantasy. Have you seen the VR glasses and stuff?
Yeah. I felt like that was really big in porn a couple years ago, and everyone's like, "This is going to take over." Mm-hmm. And it didn't exactly take over, but it has its place.
Yeah, it has its place there. And I was curious if you've thought about. I mean, as you said, you're still directing and working on stuff, and you have a story that's a build your own fantasy. Mm-hmm. I mean, it seems like it would go hand in hand. Have you given any thought to that?
Okay, so I actually tried for a little while to direct VR porn, and that is very much, I think that the people who are, you need to really be like a techie
nerd
I'm not even going to say nerd, a person who's very good with that technology. Like, you don't really need a creative person on that set.
Okay.
You need a person who knows exactly where to put the camera rig and like where to move people, because that kind of porn is so exact and so particular.
I could imagine.
If you put your arm in the wrong place, the shot's not usable. If you put so most of the people directing VR porn, they're not like writers and creators or people like me, where, you know, my skill is like coming up with a good scenario, casting people, pairing people, and styling people, and you know, and stuff like that. Those skills really aren't necessary in VR porn. You need to just be more of like a person that's very familiar with the technology, and, you know, because that's kind of like the real thing. Like, and the story, you can't really have a lot of story because it's not filmed in the same like traditional way. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the story is very much from like one point of view. Your point of view. Yeah. Okay. It's not like you don't see two people talking where you have like a wide shot and a close up, and you don't really have like dialogue in the same way that you have regular dialogue, if that makes any sense.
Well, the second part to that, I know that I said that was the last question, but it begged another thing that kind of just follows up on that real quick is, how do you feel that, I mean, you guys were kind of based out of a .com eventually, but I know you started off with videos and stuff early on, and, you know, you've been in the industry for how long you have now, as we've said. How do you feel about all these websites like Pornhub and others, you know, that, you know, they're having their paywalls in there now, but they also have a lot of the, you know, the free stuff, and, you know, how does it compare to amateur versus professional? Can you just fill me in on how you feel about where the industry is going, as it continues with these kind of sites?
Yeah. I mean, the industry is in a very unique place now. But I'm sure, I really think it's the same thing in music. Mm-hmm. Maybe even not so much in Hollywood. You know, like back in the day, every band needed to go to like a real producer, you know, a big music studio. You needed a record label and stuff like that. Now that's not totally necessary.
Yeah.
So, you know, but they still exist. I don't know. I mean, porn is in a unique place right now. That's another reason I'm glad I sold my studio.
Yeah. Because
studios are not quite as necessary as they used to be. But I think right now, which is the same as music, like obviously the music industry still exists, you know, but I think a lot of the middlemen kind of fell out, because it's either like, you either should be like on like, I don't know, Blink-182 level, or you may as well just be doing things yourself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which I'm sure Blink-182 does things themselves too, but you know what I mean.
No, it's a lot of a lot of the technological advancements that have come. If you can start working with them, there's a lot of great opportunities there, and a lot of things like I'm doing, even in this podcast right now, I'm doing a lot of it DIY. I have a guy that I send it to, but there's no one else in the room with me right now. You know, it's not a big studio setting, you know.
But you have a following, you know?
Yeah, if you didn't, it has to build.
Right.
Yeah,
like girls,
that's a good comparison.
You used to need to work. I mean, but, you know, same thing. Like, to get a following as a band, you used to need to be on a label and have people pushing you and do press and do all this stuff. Now you can get big on your own on, you know, on YouTube, on SoundCloud, on whatever.
Yeah.
Same thing. Girls used to need a porn studio to give them a name. Now they can make their own name. They could, you know, a lot of successful girls have built a following on Instagram, and then they've done porn. A lot of girls have just made their own stuff on Pornhub and developed a big fan base on there, and then, you know, do their thing. But then but the studios still exist. You know, same way you know, a handful of the major labels still exist. But I think the studios now, because, you know, I direct for Burning Angel, which was bought by one of the biggest conglomerates. You know, they're called Adult Time. It's a very big company. You know, there's kind of same way in music where there's probably like 3 big companies right now. Yeah. It's the same way in porn. There's like 3 big companies. And they still exist. I think the difference now is the big studios are making very, very, very high quality porn. So it's not going to look.
Yeah. You'd see the drop off a little bit, right?
Right. So it's almost like if you're going to have a studio, you should be making like top notch stuff, or you may as well just be making your own stuff. And And the term amateur porn, I mean, what is amateur porn?
I don't even
anymore?
know that. That's a good point. I don't even know what that would be anymore. Yeah.
Because so many girls are making porn themselves, produce themselves, and it looks really good. I mean, you can make really high quality porn in your house, on your phone. You can do so much. It used to only be the studios that were able to produce this level of stuff, but now like anyone can do it. So, I don't know. It's a unique time. I'm kind of in both worlds because I do my own thing on my OnlyFans and I use all the platforms and I use the Pornhub program and stuff like that. But then I'm also still directing for Burning Angel. And then plus as part of my deal with the buyout, like I direct for some of the other studios they own too. So I work for like the big time people. And then I'm also doing my own thing on the platform. So I'm kind of in both of those worlds.
That makes a lot of sense. No, and you're in that space. That's cool that you're able to you're able to after 20 years continue to evolve with it and do what you want and still be happy, right? Which is great. And now you're doing the book and I feel very fortunate, very happy, very I'm happy to still be here and having fun. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your I'm like, I don't know how much longer this is going to last. I don't know, but I'm here until I can't be here anymore, Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you again, Joanna. Everyone go check out more of Joanna Angel on Instagram. From there, she's made it very clear that you can get this book by ordering from her link in her bio, and she's constantly talking about you've got virtual signings and stuff and a bunch of cool stuff to prop up this book, Club 42. Everyone go check it out. Again, thank you so much for your time, and
thank you.
Let's stay in touch.
This was really fun, and I've been a long-time fan of Avenged Sevenfold for a very long time, so this was a cool thing.
Awesome. It was great to reconnect with you after this time I wasn't ill, so it's a lot better.
But you're still lame.
I'm still super poser. Super poser.